self-discipline is one of the most important components of me succeeding in this journey as a creator, as a runner, as an entrepreneur. What's happening, guys? This is the first episode of the Choi Show. I haven't been behind a podcast in a very long time, so I'm actually really excited to share this with you all. I'm sitting here at Collective in the Pouch 6 studio, and this is going to be the first episode of the show. As you guys can see, there's no other guest with me here today, so I'm solo, and I think that's actually going to be a mix of this show. A lot of it is going to be me one-on-one and obviously engaging and growing with the community here. And the premise of it is I want to get closer and more connected and engaged with my community, whether that's doing live call-ins or AMAs, or maybe just giving you guys updates on what I'm working on or things that I've taken away from races or memories or experiences and things that I have going on. In addition, we will be interviewing guests, people that are in the running space, endurance athletes, entrepreneurs, content creators, and anyone that's in that realm. Honestly, along this journey, I actually have formerly had a podcast 3-4 years ago, which a lot of you guys actually don't know. It was called the Athletes Marathon Podcast, where I interviewed a lot of former athletes and entrepreneurs. It kind of took the back seat as I further got into short form content and TikTok and Instagram, and that's kind of where a lot of my time and attention went to. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time as a host, building the podcast, interviewing people. And at that point, when I was so early on in what I was doing, and especially in this field, it was a really good opportunity for me to learn from other people. So I want to bring a piece of that back as well, because there's so many people that I still look up to, that I still consume in terms of their content or their pods or their books or whatever it might be. So my goal is we're going to bring some of those special people onto this show as well. But for this first episode, you guys are stuck with me. So here we are. So that's kind of what to expect as we further build out this in 2024. So I feel like this is like me coming out of retirement in the podcast game. I can't tell how many of you guys have commented and or asked me like, dude, you go on so many people's pod, like, why don't you just have your own? Or like, where can I listen to this episode? And I think it's awesome to show love to other people's pod. And obviously for me, like, I've been a guest on many people's, and some of those clips have been seen by a lot of people. Some of those clips haven't been seen by many people. And at times, as I've been on this journey as a creator, I'm always looking for different ways to connect with my community and my audience. And sometimes when you're able to do that in a longer format, it kind of gets people closer versus just like a 30-second reel or a 90-second voiceover video. So that is my intention with the pod. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm excited to bring all of you guys along with me. So bear with me on this first episode. We're going to enjoy it. Today, I'm going to kind of go further into, as we step into a new year, a lot of people have goals. A lot of people have resolutions. A lot of people are looking to build new habits and discipline going into the new year. So today we're going to talk about building self-discipline going into the new year. And I really wanted to use that word self because this has been something that the past couple of years that I've truly tried to develop further. And through my challenges, through running, through building a personal brand, and through being an entrepreneur, I feel like self-discipline is one of the most important components of success. So we're going to break that down further. 3 things that you can do today that might help you build more self-discipline. I'm also going to do a little AMA at the end. I posted on my Instagram, and I'll do this in the future as well. So if you guys want me to answer your question, I'm going to continue to post it on Instagram before I record an episode, and I might answer some of your guys' questions, which some of those might just be random. So bear with me on that. A lot of you guys are probably setting new resolutions or goals. Gyms get more popular. Gyms get more packed. You start to see people that you haven't seen in the gym in a very long time. And I believe goals are good. Goals are important. At the same time, goals can also set limits on people. And let me like kind of dig deeper into that. Like, someone sets a goal of, I want to lose 5 pounds, I want to lose 10 pounds in a year, or I want to run 1 marathon, or I want to start journaling or meditating. And yet these are really good things. But at times, whether you achieve these goals or you don't achieve it, how do you actually measure like what success is? Because sometimes you might not be able to achieve something in 1 year, and it might take you 2 years or 3 years. And I think there was something that that Sam Acho had said. He's a former football player, played at UT, played in the NFL for a couple years, and now he's a commentator. And he said that he doesn't live by goals. He literally only lives by having objectives with clear intentions. And I actually started to reflect on this because personally, like, I really don't write many of my goals down. And some of you guys are probably shocked by that because you're probably like, Matt, like, you ran 12 marathons in 12 months last year. You ran across Korea. Like, you've done 4 out of the 6 world majors. But, like, I never actually wrote any of those things down. And I'm not saying that this is the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. I think for every human, you need to find what works for you. But when Sam Acho says, like, live through having your objectives with a clear intention. And I think that's actually a very powerful way to live because you're not setting a final destination. You're not setting a finish line for anything because what happens after you achieve your goal? Like, does that mean that you're done? Like, are you like now going to go back onto the sideline? I think for humans, it's finding ways to live sustainable lives, to have sustainable practices that you can actually build upon year after year after year. So instead of just saying like, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 months, like maybe you're saying like, I want to build a healthier lifestyle. I want to show up for myself 300 out of the 365 days, which if you break it down month to month, that's showing up for yourself 25 out of the 30 days. And I think for a lot of humans, like it's about rewiring how you see certain things. It's rewiring your own perspective to look at the world half full, not half empty. And I think that cognitive approach is actually something that I've found very practical for myself. Like when I set any type of objective, for example, I never set a goal of running 12 marathons last year. I set a goal of running a sub 250 marathon in Houston last year, and I knew I was going to run the Austin Marathon. And after completing 2 marathons in 2 months, I just wanted to see if I could do a marathon a month. And sometimes our goals or our objectives become spontaneous based on our circumstance, based on what's happening to us. And a lot of that is based on serendipity. A lot of that is based on being ready for an opportunity. And I think that's kind of the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to self-discipline. It's seeking curiosity even in the unknown and even through the uncertainty. And these are things that a lot of people are afraid of. Like, people are afraid of getting into something that they don't have the answers to. And it makes total sense why humans are nervous about that or scared about that. It's like, why would you start the business if you know it's going to fail? Or why would you start a business if you don't think it's going to work out? Why would you invest into your health if you can't see past the physical labor and time and sacrifice it's going to take to eat healthier, to move your body more, to spend more time putting yourself first? These are things that a lot of people would rather not do because it's uncomfortable. So the first thing I think is seeking curiosity in things that you don't have the answers to. And if you can do that, you embrace the doubt, you embrace the uncertainty. But as you do that, it's actually where we grow as humans. And whether that means in the gym of hiring a coach, hiring a trainer, doing exercises that you have not done before, those are the moments where you're actually able to grow. The definition of growth is actually through like challenging yourself. Like your muscle grows in the gym because you tear it. And like, it's literally a great metaphor of life or a great analogy of life of you have to break yourself off a little bit. You have to fail to then succeed. And I think it's something that if you're able to get more comfortable with that uncertainty and that the unknown, it leads you to a lot of beautiful opportunities. So if you're someone out there that is trying to set a new objective for yourself, a new quote unquote goal, see if you can lean further into your curiosity. And that might be being a student again. And whether that's getting back into meditating because you haven't done that in a while, or you've heard great things about it, but you've never actually applied it. Or it could be like for me last year, it was journaling. I wanted to get better at writing because I was a very poor student in high school and through college. And writing was something that doesn't come easy to me. So my very practical step, and I didn't know how this was going to turn out, was to start with the 5-minute journal. And if you guys know what the 5-minute journal is, or if you don't know what it is, it's literally, I don't know how many pages it is, but it has the same prompts every single day. What are you grateful for? What are you looking forward to today? What's a daily affirmation? That's like your morning journal entry. And then in the evening, it goes, what excited you for today and what did you learn today? And I think by having these practical things in your life, these practical habits and or routines that you can implement, it allows you to build a foundation of whatever you're trying to build. People ask me all the time, like, how do you get into running? How do you focus on your health and wellness? How did you get better as a creator? It's by setting these small wins, setting the foundation down strong so that you can build on top of it. Like, I would be so nervous to talk in front of the camera 4 years ago. Like, if you guys actually went to my YouTube channel and go watch the very first video I ever posted, compared to the most recent video I've posted, you will see two different people. It's the same person that is in front of you right now, but like how confident I was making content back then versus how I feel now is like light years of a difference. And I think it just goes to show that like we all can grow significantly just by putting in the reps, even when you're not seeing results. So if you're someone that set a fitness goal for yourself, like you can't just show up for 30 days and be like, oh man, like I don't see a six pack yet. I don't see my muscles growing. I don't see those scale changing. Like a lot of the change that happens over a long period of time. So I think you need to implement patience as you guys are seeking this curiosity. And that would be the first thing as you're building self-discipline into the new year. Number 2, change the environment you're in, whether it's people or the things you're listening to. This was one of the most beneficial things for me as I started to create more content, as I started to just shift my mindset and become more of an entrepreneur than just an employee. So many of us want to change our mindsets, but don't want to change the things that actually can get us there, which you guys have heard the cliche saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If the 5 people you spend the most time with are negative, are cynical, are out of shape, are not succeeding in their career, in their business, in their relationships, like you will be the 5th person, you'll be the 6th person. So if you don't have people close to you, if you live in a small town and there's no one inspiring or motivating or disciplined around you, then the easiest thing to do is to spend more time for yourself and listen to things that are more motivational, that are more that'll give you discipline, that it's going to show consistency and all these things. And the thing that helped me the most was listening to different podcasts from entrepreneurs, listening to people I looked up to, people that were succeeding in their wealth or their health or their fitness, reading different books. So many of my quote unquote board of advisors, and I love this framework of you can have a board of advisors that don't know who you are. Early on when I started like really trying to consume content, really try to change my mindset and get further back into like endurance, some of my board of advisors were David Goggins, Jesse Itzler, Gary Vaynerchuk, Jay Shetty, Tom Bilyeu, like people that had no idea who I am. They still don't know who I am. But I was consuming so much of their knowledge, so much of their information, their books, their podcasts, their interviews, and I was slowly transforming my mindset. And I think that's something that's very practical for anyone out there. If you don't like your certain circumstance right now, you can change what you're listening to. You can change what you're consuming. Stop sitting on Sunday and binge watching NFL football. Stop binge watching your show on Netflix and start consuming content that's going to push you out of your comfort zone, that's going to challenge your inner framework, that's going to challenge your perspective, and watch what happens after 60 days, 120 days, a year, 2 years. You will slowly transform your mentality over time. And I always use this analogy. If you haven't watched The Matrix, go watch The Matrix. It's a hell of a movie with Keanu Reeves in it. It's a little older. It's actually the first rated R movie my mother let me and my brother watch. But the movie itself, the main character, Keanu Reeves, his character's name is Neo, and he's learning new skill sets once he gets out of the Matrix. And he gets plugged into an AI system, and he learns jujitsu, he learns karate, he learns how to fight within a matter of 10 seconds. It's a download that they literally plugged into his mind for him to learn all these moves. I wish society and the world worked in that fashion, where we can learn that fast. The closest thing you have to that is ChatGPT. It's podcasts, it's books, it's by playing them on 1.25 speed so you can get information in faster. But it's going to take time for you to actually like digest it and then apply it. But unlike in the Matrix where you learn in 10 seconds, you guys can maybe learn in an hour, maybe learn in 30 days, maybe learn in a month or 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is. But it starts by doing something. And you can't just consume content forever. Like at some point, it has to be practical to then go take action on it. And I think it's kind of a double-sided sword because I keep talking about you need to change your software. Once your software changes, you need to now prove to yourself that it's true. And that latter part is probably the hardest part. A lot of people know how to take care of their health better. Move more, eat cleaner. It's more challenging to actually do it. So, as you guys are digesting more information from your quote unquote board of advisors, make sure you spend time on actually implementing these things and watch what happens over the course of months to years down the line. So the second thing was change your environment to build more confidence and self-discipline. This is number 3. It's probably one of my favorite ones. This is a lot Goggins-esque. Find comfort in failing. Find comfort through discomfort. And I think this is something that a lot of people aren't comfortable with. People do not like to fail. People don't like to be quote unquote losing or not putting up any wins on the scoreboard. And I think it's actually something that it makes total sense. Like I still remember to this day when I was in elementary school and we'd be reading a certain book and every kid down the line had to like read a different a different paragraph. And I would always remember like counting how many people are in front of me, like, oh, I'm the 8th person, so I'm going to read the 8th paragraph. And I would just skip to that paragraph because I didn't want to stutter or I didn't want to look like I didn't know how to read in front of people. And all of us have a level of stage fright, whether it's in reading or whether it's putting yourself out there socially or whether it's taking care of your actual fitness because you don't want to go to a gym that you haven't stepped into for 5 years and you see people that are in the best shape of their lives literally benching right next to you, squatting right next to you, and you have no idea what you're doing. Breaking that barrier of the judgment that you get from other people, the fear of that judgment, the fear of losing, the fear of failing, has been one of the critical components of me succeeding in this journey as a creator, as a runner, as an entrepreneur. No one in life that succeeded has gotten there from not failing. Like that is the one thing that if you get better at failing and putting yourself in environments to fail, it's the quickest step to getting wins on the board, to succeeding. An example for this for me, everyone follows me now and they're like, Matt, you make marathons look so easy. How do you run 12 marathons in 12 months? How did you run across Korea? Not long ago, I was just a former football player that didn't really know what he was doing with his life and read a book by David Goggins and wanted to run. I have not always been a runner. I can't tell you how many people think that I've been running my entire life. They're like, yo, you make running look so easy. You must have been doing this since you were in middle school. Endurance running has been something new for me still. Over the past 3 to 4 years, it's been a new skill set that I've developed, nurtured, and now has become like second nature. But the first marathon I ever tried to do, I failed. I only completed 17.81 miles, and I had full body cramps, quad, hamstring, calves, fully locked up. It was a morning it was a summer morning. Let me set the stage. It was a summer morning in Maryland. It was very humid. It was about 94 degrees. And I had gotten a new pair of Nike Pegasus Turbo shoes. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I think this is some of the leaning into the unknown and building confidence through suffering and through uncomfortability from Goggins. I wanted to just see how far I could run in a new pair of shoes. Now, granted, I had never read much about marathons. I had never read much about nutrition for fueling during, pre, and post the marathon. So I laced up my shoes. This was about 9:30 in the morning, so it wasn't that cool yet. It was actually had warmed up pretty much. And I typed in my phone. I plugged in my old high school, Quince Orchard High School. And at the time, my mom had moved further away from the high school I went to. And it was 13.4 miles away. So I said to myself, if I make it there, I will have no other choice but to make it back. So I begin my journey. I bring no water. I bring no nutrition. I bring no gels. I bring no fuel. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I just start to run. I keep it very slow, keep it very easy pace. I walk at points when I have to. And I chose a route that's very hilly, so it wasn't in my favor. It wasn't a fast course, to say the least. And I finally get to the high school. It took me about a little over 2 hours to get to the high school. So I was on pace for like a 4 hour and maybe 30 marathon, 4 hours and 30-minute marathon. And I start realizing that like my body's starting to get depleted. I'm starting to see the salt build up on my arms and my body. I'm running out here shirtless and it's getting warmer. It's probably getting closer to the upper 90s. And as I got to the high school, I ran one lap around the track. I saw my former junior varsity head coach for football that was leading a basketball camp. And I said, Coach Foringer, do you have an extra water bottle? And he said, sure. Here, grab a water. I'm over here like depleted, drinking the water, pouring it on my head. And he goes, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm running a marathon. I'm at the halfway point. He asked me, what marathon are you running? And I said, because I wasn't wearing a bib or anything. I go, like nothing. This is just like a self-elected one. And he goes, are you okay? And in that moment, I realized how crazy something like this could be to the naked eye. First of all, at this point, let me remind you, I had just started running maybe 3-4 months prior, and I had no experience doing a long run. I had never read about marathons and what it takes to feel it and to have proper hydration and nutrition. And he gave me one more water bottle, and I started making my way back. So I'm at 14 miles now, and it's at the peak heat of the day. I'm running up these hills. Mind you, when I say running, I'm really jogging. Like I'm trying to jog through the sun part where it's sunny, and I'm walking through the shade because I feel my body depleted. I finally get to 17 miles, and I'm like starting to feel cramps. And I tell myself, and there's video content of all this back when not many people followed me, and I say I could walk home if I have to. Like I'll walk the last 8-9 miles. And little did I know that my body was completely completely exhausted. I had to call a friend at 17.81 miles, and I said, "Yo, I need a ride home. I can't finish this marathon." And in that moment, I was not even mad at myself. If anything, I was more upset that like I didn't prepare properly when it came to fueling and hydration. But the judgment I got from other people of like, yo, like, what were you thinking? Like, are you stupid? Like, why didn't you bring any fuel or all these things? And for me, it was just a lack of knowledge. I didn't know any better. But I learned so much about doing that. Like, putting yourself in moments to fail, I think in life is really good because it shows how you can respond to it. In my mind, I wasn't walking away like I'm a failure. I can't complete a marathon. Like my mindset was, I completed 17.8 miles with 2 water bottles and just pure grit and determination. Imagine what I can do if I bring gels. Imagine what I can do if I actually train properly. Imagine what I can do if I don't do this in the middle of a 90-degree summer day. And I think for humans, it's about creating these mental wins for yourself to make you feel like it's once again seeing the world half full, not half empty. Even if you don't accomplish something, you can always look at the wins that you got from it. And it's all about perspective. And for me in that moment, like I was depleted, my body was suffering, but I didn't think that that was a failure. Like I actually thought like now the first marathon is going to be really easy. And fast forward 6 months down the line, I complete my first marathon on my 26th birthday. I had proper gel. I had proper nutrition, coconut water and waters and all these things. And it had snowed 2 days prior, so it was very chilly. And it almost made that marathon very easy because I had gone through close to 18 miles of suffering with no preparation. So I think for someone out there, if you're dealing with the fear of judgment, the fear of failing, sometimes the biggest liberating moments, the biggest wins mentally come from these failures. And sometimes you need to put yourself in these environments to fail to get that liberating feeling. So if you're doubting yourself right now, if you feel like you're not capable, that you're not worthy, that like you haven't been a runner your whole life, or why would I put myself online? Sometimes by doing those things and not getting the results, not winning, will end up getting you to the point of seeing success. So that is my short story of finding comfort through failure and how that can build discipline over time. Once again, I sit here in front of you now. I ran 12 marathons last year in 12 months. Some people think I've been running my whole life. Not long ago was a very audacious young kid trying to complete his first marathon with no idea what he was doing. And a lot of you have similar stories. Right now, you're doubting your capabilities, but it's your job to prove yourself wrong. And I think that is something really beautiful to think about as you enter the new year of like, what are you doing to change what your future is going to look like for the year? And that trajectory can change years down the line. So those are my 3 tips on how to build self-discipline going into the new year. And there's obviously so many other things, but I think for a lot of people that are starting out, these are some of the things that have helped me. 1, seek curiosity, lean into the unknown and the uncertainty, things that you don't have the answers to. Number 2, change your environment. Your board of advisors, develop who those people are. And if they're not around you, then consume them online. If the people around you are negative, stop hanging out with them. Stop consuming wasted content when it comes to your leisure time. And the third thing is find comfort in failing. Find comfort through discomfort and watch what happens for your own mental grit, your discipline, your own like consistency, like levels, I guarantee will rise over time. So that's my 3 tips. And that is kind of the breakdown of what I wanted to talk about today. But before we go, I posted on my Instagram about some Ask Me Anythings. And I really like this structure of quote unquote pods because 1, I feel like now it's like I'm in like a boardroom with all my community and people. And we have a chance where I can get or maybe answer some questions for you guys. So I'm going to answer 3 questions that were on my Instagram. The first one, and this is just the top one right here. When did you start to run? I started running in 2020. The first running challenge I ever did was the Mike Murphy challenge, which is a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and another mile. I did that 30 days in a row. The first 14 days, I did it with no weighted vest. Days 15 through 21, I did it with a 10-pound weighted vest. And then the last 8 days, I used a 20-pound weighted vest, which is what CrossFitters actually utilize when they do this workout on Memorial Day. And that was my start to running. 60 miles at the end of the month. And that was my base. Everyone needs a foundation somewhere. Obviously, for me, I had ran in the past playing college football, playing football my whole life. Like, I've sprinted a lot more than I ran, but that was my first introduction to, like, running. From there, I got further into running more miles, but that was kind of how I started and when I started. Let's see. Have you dealt with long-term injuries? This is actually a really good question. I've dealt with injuries. Not many of them have been like long-term though. A lot of my injuries are from overuse. Shin splints, plantar fasciitis. I've had IT band syndrome before after a long ultra marathon. But a lot of these things are our body's response to a new adaptation, to a new stimulus. When I first got into running, endurance running was something very new for me. I had never done it before, and it came with some learning curves. When you ask your body to do things it's never done, it's going to respond in ways that you've not felt before. And I've never really felt shin splints because in football, like you wear cleats and like it's such a short like burst of a sport that it's not typically what you like. That's not an injury you get. Like people, you hear more about ACLs, MCLs, meniscus injuries, like knee injuries, ankle fractures and breaks. Like you don't really get shin splints as much. But I would say early on in my running, a lot of my injuries happened from overuse. And a lot of that is because I ran too fast, too many days in a row with not prioritizing base building, which is easy running, and recovery running. Now that has been a major component of how I train. And I think it's something that if you're an early runner or you're a new runner, you need to incorporate easy running, base building miles before you lean further into tempo running and speed workouts. So I would say that's kind of the majority of my injuries. Let's get one more here. There's getting a lot of questions around shoes, a lot of stuff around running. Someone asked what's my zodiac sign, which I'm not big into zodiac, but my birthday's next month. I'm a Pisces. We'll do one more. Let's see. All right. 2024 goals. Obviously, on the realm of what we just talked about, I kind of talked about like Sam Macho talking about objectives with clear intention. I think when it comes to goals, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to frame this as like my next race. The next quote unquote race and or race goal I have is to run the Austin Marathon. The Austin Marathon is obviously a hometown race for me. I'm really excited to run it because it's kind of my first introduction to Austin when I first moved here 2 years ago. And I told myself that any year I live here, I will run in the hometown race. So 2 years ago, I ran the Austin Marathon at 3:05, 3 hours and 5 minutes. Last year, I was coming off another marathon and I ran 3:17. I was cramping a little bit at the very end. The hills in Austin are no joke. So my goal for Austin is to try to beat my 3:05 time. The real goal, which I'm trying to hit, is sub 3 at Austin. It's a great race, great time of year to run in Austin. I think it's one of those races where one, hometown is just awesome to have the community support. The ups and downs of the hills are a great analogy of life as well, of like you have to kind of ride the wave. And I think it's one of those races that I don't know. There's something about it. Like there's moments of it that seem super packed and like there's a ton of crowd support. But I'll be honest, towards the end of Austin, there's plenty of moments where you're on yourself or you're by yourself. It's alone, miles 20 to 21 to like 25 and a half. You don't see many people on the east side of Austin, and it can be very demoralizing. And I think there's moments during that like pain cave that you find who you are. And I think that that's a beautiful thing about a marathon itself is that there's so many different variables that come with the marathon that make it special, that make it different. And I think as the job of the runner, it's to overcome that. And it's to find resilience, and it's to fight through the adversity, because you have to respect the distance of 26.2 miles, because every single time you do it, it's a different challenge. So that's my next upcoming race, which I'm really pumped about. And that is the end of the AMAs. I think in the future, if we actually did these live, like a call-in, that would be really fun. Maybe drop in the comments if you guys would like to enjoy that. But I want to keep these. I want to keep this kind of to a close now. So this wasn't as nerve-wracking as I thought. Maybe I'm actually listening to my own values of sometimes you have to try something before you make an assumption on how it's going to turn out. So that is the first episode of the Matt Choi Show. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. If you guys liked this episode or got any value out of it, make sure you go share this with a friend who's trying to build their discipline for the year. And I think it's something that is powerful. If you hear something and you enjoyed it or you got something out of it, is to share that with other people, whether it's loved ones, friends, family, or someone that you just, that you might have had a conversation with that will seek value out of it. So appreciate all of you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.